Hello, I'm here today on election day. You'll see I have my sticker, and I voted this morning for the President of the United States and then a couple of other amendments for the Constitution that were on the ballot. I encourage you, when you turn 18, to register to vote as soon as you can. It's an important right and responsibility that we have as Americans. The book I have for you today is a Berenstain Bears book. And I don't know if you've read very many of these, but when I was little, these were some of my very favorites. And on the back of the books, you'll see they show a lot of the different books that they have. And I can remember when I was little, I would go through and count which ones that I have. And I have to admit, I had a lot of these. I think the No Girls Allowed may have been one of my very favorites. I'll have to check that one out and read it to you someday. This one is The Messy Room. And when I was younger, my room was messy a lot because I would go from one project to another and I wouldn't quite clean up before I moved on to something else. So I can identify with some of the problems in this story. Berenstain Bears by Stan and Jane Berenstain, The Messy Room. The Messy Room. When small bears forget to pick up, store, and stash, some of their favorite things end up in the trash. The Berenstain Bears and the Messy Room. From outside the bear's treehouse, which stood beside a sunny dirt road deep in bear country, looked very neat and well kept. The flower beds sparkled with red and yellow and blue tulips. The woodwork was freshly painted and in good repair. The grass was cut and the vegetable patch was properly weeded. Even the bird's nest that was perched on one of the treehouse branches was well trimmed. The inside of the bear's treehouse was neat and clean too. The pictures were straight. The piano was dusted. The kitchen was spick and span. Even the basement was neat and clean. And if you think it's easy to keep a treehouse basement neat and clean, well, you've never tried to do it. Yes, the bear's treehouse was a lesson in neatness and cleanliness, except for one place. Brother Bear and Sister Bear's room. It was a mess. A dust-catching, wall-to-wall, helter-skelter mess. The sign on the door says, "Closet, open at your own risk." A half-done jigsaw puzzle gathered dust in one corner of the room. A group of Brother Bear's dinosaur models collected cobwebs on another. Sister's stuffed animals were everywhere. As for the cub's big storage closet, well, just be careful how you open it. It wasn't that brother and sister were naturally messy. They tried to keep their room straight. They made their beds most of the time. And they swept and picked up once in a while. The trouble was that when cleanup time came, they spent more time arguing than cleaning. "How am I supposed to sweep with your dumb dinosaurs all over the floor?" argued Sister. "They're not toys, they're models, and don't move them. I'm working on a setup of the Pleistocene age," Brother protested. "Pleistocene to Smoxene," shouted Sister. Not only was Brother and Sister's room a mess, but Brother and Sister were getting to be a mess too, always arguing about cleanup chores instead of sharing the job and working as a team. What usually happened was that while the cubs argued about whose turn it was to do what, Mama took the broom and did the cleaning herself. And she often did the picking up too. That was the worst part, the picking up and the putting away. Well, the mess just seemed to build up and build up until one day, maybe it was because Mama's back was a little stiff, or maybe it was stepping on Brother's airplane cement, or maybe she was just fed up with the messy room. But whatever it was, Mama Bear lost her temper. She stormed into the cubs' room with a big box. The first thing we have to do is get rid of all this junk, she said. Junk, said Brother and Sister, watching in horror as Mama began to throw things into the box. My teddy isn't junk, screamed Sister. My bird's nest collection isn't junk, yelled Brother at the top of his lungs. The screaming and yelling got so loud that it reached Papa, who was in his wood shop putting the finishing touches on a batch of chairs that had been ordered by one of his customers. He couldn't imagine what was wrong. He hurried up the stairs and looked into the messy, noisy room. It didn't take a deep thinker to figure out what was going on. Papa got Mama and the cubs' attention and called the family to a meeting right then and there. Now, the mess has really built up in this room, he said. In fact, it's the worst case of messy buildup I've ever seen. And it isn't fair, he continued. It isn't fair to your Mama and me, because we have a lot of other things to take care of. And it isn't fair to you, because you can't really have fun or relax in a room that's such a terrible mess. But Mama is putting all my things into that box, even my teddy, said Sister. And my things too, cried Brother. Then Papa got an idea. A box, yes, he said. Better yet, a lot of different kinds of boxes. A big toy box for your large toys. I can make one for you in my shop. And some smaller boxes for your collections and models. And how about one of those boards with holes and pegs to hang things on, asked Sister. A pegboard, said Papa. Great idea. All this room needs is a little organization. A little organization and a few rules, added Mama. Rules about more sweeping and less arguing and not leaving things together dusting cobwebs. Papa set to work making a fine big toy box and a large pegboard, while the cubs and Mama sorted out toys, books, games, puzzles, and put them into boxes that fit neatly into the closet. Every box was clearly labeled. Some of the cubs' things did end up in Mama's big throwaway box. Not Sister's teddy bear, of course, but some of Brother's bird's nest, the crumbling, falling apart ones. It was a very big job cleaning up all that messy buildup, but after a lot of straightening up and putting away, the job was finally finished. Wow, said Brother, that was quite a job, but it was worth it. It looks like a whole new room, said Sister. The cubs were right. And Papa had been right too. It was so much more enjoyable to live in a neat, clean, well-organized room, and so much more relaxing. It wasn't as exciting to open the big storage closet now, but it was much more practical and a lot more fun. Do you remember at the beginning of the story how we talked about how I'd gone to vote and how it was my right and responsibility as an American to vote? Well, as a member of a family, it is your right and responsibility to help with the housework. So you are all old enough that you are able to do things around the house. For example, when I was little, and even still now, I was able to empty the dishwasher or put away my clean clothes. I cleaned the bathroom, I dusted, I could vacuum, I mowed the yard, raked the leaves. There are a lot of things that you can do to help around the house. You're a member of a family, and it is your job to support and help take care of the house that your parents are working hard for you to be able to live in. So if you don't have chores, I would like to encourage you to ask your parents what you can do to help. Or maybe you could come up with some ideas and give your parents a list of things that you would like to do to be able to help around the house. It's really important, because when you grow up and you have your own house, you need to have had some practice so that you know how to take care of it. Hope you all have a great day, and maybe go through some of your toys and see if you aren't playing with some of them, and you could give them away to children who need some toys to play with. Love you all. Talk to you soon.